Hi everyone, my name is Kieran Rose and I am the Autistic Advocate. Welcome to my page, and this week we have Zoe and Nick back again. If you saw our video last week, we answered lots of questions that Zoe had handily prepared beforehand. It was just like a here's one I made earlier moment from Blue Peter. And this week we have another bowl of questions that Zoe has prepared magically for us. And I say this week, if it looks like we're wearing the same clothes, it's not because we're minging dirty, it's just because we carried on the recording. And we have the magic of editing. So Zoe, do you want to quickly reintroduce yourself, just for people that haven't seen last week's video?
Hi, I'm Zoe. This is my mum, Nicola King. I'm an autistic girl. I'm 10 years old, and I came out as an autistic girl in school about a year ago, and my friends accepted that open-heartedly and didn't think I was weird for telling them.
That's awesome. Zoe, why did you want to do this? Because this was your idea, wasn't it? You wanted to do things, you wanted to do something with answering questions and me and stuff. And so why did you want to?
But I want to spread awareness and acceptance of autism, because people still, like after about a year, are still coming up to me and asking what is autism, and I think I should just release something that should help people understand it.
That's amazing. And you know so much, because I mean, for anyone that doesn't know Nick, Nick lives really closely to me, and we do some work together and stuff. Nick runs a charity called Happy Faces, which supports autistic children and families. And I've been doing some training for them recently, and I've gotten to know Zoe fairly well, and I have yet to meet an autistic child that is 10 years old that knows more about autism than Zoe does. So, and that's not because anybody's pumped information into her. She's just incredibly insightful into herself and has done lots of research on your own, really, haven't you? So you're an amazing girl. So thank you for coming on my page and doing this. So shall we get started? You have some questions for it. What are we doing this week? Because this last week was a bit of myths. What are we doing this week?
Myths part 2.
Oh, part 2 of it. Because there's so many myths, aren't there? There's like too many myths.
Yeah. I think the first step to spread awareness and acceptance about autism is going through the fake things before answering questions about it.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. When I do my training, I always talk to the people that I'm training about how the fact that I am unlearning them. So I'm teaching them the things that they've gotten wrong, and before I can teach them the things that they need to know. So it's kind of unpicking all the stuff that they think they know, and then getting rid of all the screwing it up in a ball and throwing it away, and then filling them up with new stuff. Say that again. Like
picking weeds out for garden.
Absolutely. What a really good analogy. So you should be, I should just shut up. You should just talk. You're far better at this than me. You need your own page. Should we get started? Are you going to pick the first one out?
Yeah. Since this one was stuck on the side, we'll pick this one. Get ready, Kieran. Can you catch autism?
Wait for it. Got it! Oh my god! Oh, you can catch autism. Oh,
you can't.
Oh, you can't.
And they're not talking about the one where you can throw and catch a ball.
So why can't you catch autism?
It's not a disease. It's basically how your brain is made. It is basically written into the very code of your existence, and you can't get rid of it. But why would you want to? Because it's just who you are, and you should accept yourself.
I mean, in a way, you could say that you catch it from your parents.
Well, transference of DNA, but yeah,
sort of.
Sort of. It's passed on by you. It's usually passed on by your parents, isn't it? That's usually what happens. And I think, to be honest, if people think that it isn't passed off by parents, then they've got some strange ideas about what autism is, really. Awesome. So we have established that you can't catch autism, but can you drop autism?
Like that?
No.
Like a mic.
In fact, you know what? Mic drop. No, you cannot drop autism either. As I said, it's in your very code of existence, and unless you drop your brain, it's kind of possible.
Don't drop it.
No.
Don't drop it. So does that mean then that you can't have autism?
Ooh.
You're making this way too complicated. Okay. No, yes, you can have autism because, as I have repeatedly stated, it.
Kieran means
I think
like.
I'm being a bit too clever for you there. So if you can't put it down, does that mean that you have it? Because most things that you have, you can also give away, can't you?
Well, this is what I is one of my questions for
Oh, okay, fine. No, don't answer that then, because I don't want to spoil the question. I don't want to spoil the question. So we will cut. That's my mistake. We'll come back to that.
Where did you put it, catch? Or did you put it back?
I think put it back. Just hang on.
Does that mean we've got to answer it again?
Okay. Right.
Next question.
Do autistic people want friends? Yes, I do. I have spent for the first few years of my life was dedicated to making friends and learning how to socially interact with neurotypicals.
That answered that question.
So,
do you have close friends? Do you have friends that you talk to all the time and spend time with?
So I have some friends who are true and like us for who I am, and I have some friends who just want to play with my sensory toys.
Oh, okay, well, I didn't that
Yeah. No names. Remember, no names. So, do you have autistic friends?
I don't think so. What? If they have autism, no one told us.
Okay, that's fair.
Do you think you might have friends that don't know that they're autistic?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. Okay. No names again, but it's a really interesting question because it's kind of, I have lots of autistic friends and I didn't used to have lots of autistic friends up until probably about 5 or 10 years ago. And the friends that I had that are not autistic, lots of them didn't treat me very nicely, and lots of them, so they weren't really friends. Looking back now, they weren't friends, but at the time I did think that they were friends. But I had non-autistic friends that did treat me well. But now that I have lots of autistic friends, I find that I'm a lot more comfortable around autistic people than I am around non-autistic people. Is that fair to say?
I think so.
I'm more comfortable around autistic people too.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's just easier.
Yeah. It's easier.
It's easier. Yeah. It is.
It's easier to follow their trains of thought as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's less
Pressure.
contexty stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's less guff and fluff, isn't there? I think, and it's kind of, with my autistic friends, it's really nice because I can pick up the phone for the ones that I do talk to on the phone and kind of just pick up conversations where they were left off, even if I haven't spoken to them for months and months and months. And that's a really nice to know that people are always there. So, I mean, obviously it's a little different to you because you're 10, so you don't pick up the phone and talk to people generally, I would assume. But it's kind of, you see your friends at school and stuff like that. But I think it's nice to have a nice mix of friends, actually, people who have different ideas about the world and work differently and stuff. But it's always nice to have your close group that you can always feel safe and comfortable with.
Completely.
Next one.
Question. If I've accidentally put that back in there, I'm sorry, but
Yeah. Oh. That would upset you when you read that one, didn't it?
Are autistic people emotionless?
I am a robot.
I have no feelings about that whatsoever. I have lots of feelings about that one. I have lots of angry feelings about that one.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what do you think about that then? Are we emotionless?
My answer to that was me and my dad. I don't know if I'm speaking for most autistic people or just me and my dad, but we have lack of facial control, so sometimes I look like sometimes I look like emotionless when I'm like happy or relaxed, or tons of different emotions fall into the in my face look like emotionless.
I can see that. Particularly your dad's got quite sort of limited facial expressions.
Bless him. You're not selling him very well.
He's lovely.
He's lovely.
You definitely have to ask what he's happy.
Yeah.
I think it's hard because I have a theory about this, and I know because where I've been doing the training with Happy Faces, and I know your mum's been sitting in, listening in, making sure I'm not telling them all the wrong things and keeping an eye on me. But I was talking to them about emotions the other week, and I said sometimes it can be really difficult because if you don't look at people, or you try to avoid looking at people, sometimes it's really hard to pick up on their facial expressions. So therefore, sometimes it's really hard to learn facial expressions from other people as you would as a child that looks at other people's faces all the time would.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing.
Yeah. So yes. So like if you like look at my notebooks, you'll see that some of them I have literally drawn emojis in, and then linked them to human faces to try and work out neurotypical emotions and facial expressions.
So I guess the question was not about other people's emotions, though. It was about our emotions. So do you feel happy, sad, angry, cross?
Does that count?
But you know, I've got a wife and 3 children, and I think they would find me very, very difficult if I was cold and emotionless. I don't think I'd have a wife and 3 children if I was like that. And I think that's where that myth kind of gets knocked on the head, because if all autistic people were cold and emotionless, there wouldn't be lots of autistic children running around, would there? So because there would be no mums and dads, because they wouldn't get married or they wouldn't get together and kind of have babies. So I think we'll not go too far down that road, but I think oh, Zoe's gone embarrassed. She's gone red. But you know, so I think it's really, really important for people to understand that, of course, that we have emotions, but sometimes our emotions might not look how other people recognize them. Like you said, because of your facial expressions and things, because you don't show your emotions as much on your face as other people might like. That doesn't mean that you're not having them, though, does it? And that's people make judgments, don't they?
Yeah.
Related to this question, this next question also made me angry. Can girls have autism?
No, I don't think they can. I don't think you're there at all. I think that's just an empty chair and your mum stuck a poster of some child in there.
Random child.
Just a random child, yes. All right then.
Do you know if autistic girls exist?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
So why do people think that autistic girls don't exist, or why did people think that?
Most, and I'm speaking for most, not all. Most autistic girls mask differently or better, still debatable, than boys. And it's sometimes harder to detect because we mask in different ways.
I think you'll find when you're going all the way back to when people were first sort of defining and testing autism, was the majority of them were boys in the testing group.
And do you think that might have something to do with the fact that all the people that were doing the looking for autism were also boys? I think that might have something to do with it. And I don't necessarily think that autistic girls mask any better. I think you're right. I think there are differences in how some autistic girls mask, but I think it's more to do with the fact that people aren't looking in the right places and at the right people and for the right things. I think they're too busy looking at white boys like me and not busy looking at girls, white girls, black girls, girls from all kind of different backgrounds and things, and not just girls as well, because we have non-binary people as well. So it's kind of transgender people, and lots of different groups get overlooked just because they're too furiously looking at the white boys who are lining up cars in their living rooms. And
the thing is, though, there's plenty of girls lining up cars in the living room.
Exactly. Who are getting missed.
Can I just ask, was that a phrase?
What was the phrase?
Girls lining up cars and
So girls lining up cars or boys lining up cars
Mhm.
is seen as a very traditional stereotype of what autism looks like.
Okay.
So I have a friend called Eleanor Broadbent, and she's an Australian lady, and she's autistic. And she came up with a brilliant line that she's let me use. And she says, when boys line up cars in a orderly fashion, it's called autism. When girls line up cuddly toys or clothes, it's called good housekeeping.
True, but horrific.
It is true, but it is horrific as well. And that's generally because of how women and girls have been looked at and treated over the course of however long. Women have always been seen as second-class citizens, so they don't get seen. And I think that's a huge problem, and that's something that really, really needs to change. So young girls like you are really going to be at the forefront of changing things, because I think, you know, as much as people like me are running around making my mouth go and trying to make changes, I think it's going to be my children and your children, you and your children, that are really going to be the ones that make the real difference in the future, because you guys are growing up knowing this now. You're getting this from a very, very early age. So, you know, I've come to this late. You've got years ahead of you yet. No pressure.
Yeah. But yeah, you've got a level of understanding that took Kieran and your dad into their generous 30s to get to.
Yeah.
And you can.
You got a head start.
Yeah.
Next question.
Can autistic qualities be grown out of?
Well,
No.
No.
Most of the answers to these questions is no.
It's funny that. Is that because they're myths by any chance?
Semi-true.
So why can't you grow out of being autistic?
As I might have said in the previous episode, aka 5 minutes ago, to me, basically it's how your brain is made, how it's wired, or basically that's what we call it. We've only given it a name. And the qualities, just like a brain, will stay with you for ever.
well, just like any brain, your brain can grow. I don't like the same things as when I was 5 or when I was 10, and I don't act the same way as when I was 15, as everybody should be grateful for. So in terms of sort of, you know, everyone can grow up and change and mature, but yes, you'll always be autistic.
That doesn't mean you stop being autistic though, does it? And it doesn't mean, and the thing is, you can learn to cover up being autistic much better, and you can be taught to cover up being autistic as well, because there are certain lovely people around the world that think that it's a good idea to train autistic people not to act autistically anymore. Oh yeah. Yes, they do. It's funny that, isn't it? But lots of people don't understand masking, and lots of people don't understand that masking is a huge aspect of many autistic people's lives. Have I horrified you there with what I said? You're breathing, aren't you? Just
breathing.
no hulking. No, don't hulk out. Don't turn green, because that would be strange. But yeah, so lots of people don't understand masking, and don't understand that as you get older that you can learn to mask being autistic as well, in order that people don't pick on you and stuff like that, and so that you fit in better, and all those horrible words. You're just angry now, aren't you?
Mainly.
Yes.
I don't blame you. It makes me angry as well. It makes me really cross.
Okay.
Next question.
Last time.
Can only children have autism? I can name 2 people. One of them is right here, who are autistic and adults at the same time.
So yeah, we know a few autistic adults, don't we?
Yes, we do.
One or so.
Yeah.
I know one or several thousand. It's funny.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, because like arguably I never grew up, so you could argue that I never kind of grew out of being a 5-year-old child in the body of a man, which is quite a freaky thing. But yeah, so we do grow up, don't we? You've noticed that there are autistic adults around. This is something that makes me really, this kind of, especially like the autism charities that started popping up in like the 1960s and 70s, and they still talk about autistic children all the time and never talk about autistic adults. And it makes me wonder what they think happens to all these autistic children that they've been supporting. It's like they reach 16 and then it's like, let's just put them in a box in the corner. Because we have our next batch of autistic children to focus on, and it's, I don't know, maybe there's some factory pumping them out somewhere.
I hope not.
I hope not as well. So is it okay that, don't slow down, you haven't answered the question yet. You haven't had your bit. Speak now.
What was the question?
Can you have autistic adults?
Yes, you can have autistic adults, autistic children go into autistic adults, and autistic adults go into autistic old people.
They do, and that's the worrying thing. When I look at my dad died a few years ago. He was quite old, but my mum's still alive, and both of them were undiagnosed autistic people. So there are lots of undiagnosed autistic old people knocking around as well.
Yeah.
Some of them are getting diagnosed now. I had a 90-year-old lady email me the other week to say that she had been diagnosed and she was really happy about it because it meant that she was the same as her grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
It's kind of lovely.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's good that, you know, we have adult pathways now.
Yeah, things are slowly kind of getting a bit better, maybe, in some places.
Okay.
Next question.
Last question.
Last one. Is it a good one? I only want it if it's a good one.
Can autistic people understand other people's emotions?
Oh, interesting question. What do you think?
Well, I'm quite bad at reading. Oh, well, I used to be. I used to be quite bad at reading other people's facial expressions, so I would literally have to ask them, "Are you okay?" And I sometimes. What are you looking at me for?
I'm listening.
Okay. Look at that. And I find it hard to read facial expressions, and unless someone tells me, "Hey, I'm sad," well, I don't really no, because even if I do read it correctly, I still have uncertainties if it's like another emotion that looks similar, because I find it difficult to read faces, and one facial expression can mean many things.
Do you find, Nick, you might be able to answer this a little bit better. I don't know if Zoe would know this herself, but Zoe, do you find that if other people are sad and it can make you sad, or that if other people are really, really happy, it can make you feel really, really happy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you're sucking up what they're feeling.
I wouldn't say that, but yeah.
Not in a really weird way. Not actually with a straw, not just like putting a straw in their ear and sucking up what they're feeling like that. But Nick, you could probably explain what I mean a little bit better. I'm talking about being empathic to a degree.
Yes, I think
when Harry's feeling when certain toddlers feeling hyperactive, I feel hyperactive.
Yes, I think you can bounce off people quickly and more so than others. And you have, if there's somebody sad in a room or somebody hyperactive in a room or somebody being loud in a room, or you sort of tend to fall into whatever pattern they're in.
That happens for a lot of us. That's something that happens with me as well. It's quite hard. If I know someone's really, really sad, it will make me feel really, really upset. And I know for lots of autistic people can accuse them of being really selfish when someone else is hurt or upset or angry, because it can make them look like they're making it about themselves.
Yeah.
You're understanding what I'm saying now. So it can make people think that you know that they're trying to make it all about them, when in actual fact it's because you've been overwhelmed by what somebody else is feeling, and you've kind of taken it on for yourself without choosing to.
I used to be told that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
By teachers, by other people.
It used to happen to me a lot growing up as well, until I understood what it was that was causing that to happen. And it is because we kind of, I think we understand other people's emotions differently because we feel what they are feeling rather than seeing what they are feeling. And sometimes that can catch us by surprise, and we can feel sad or happy and not understand why we're feeling like that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
That was the last question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're there. So, do you want to come back for another week? You have
Yeah.
more questions? You do. You're quite happy to do it, right?
We
So,
definitely have more questions and it took a long time to make them, so we're doing
will we be wearing different clothes next week? We shall leave that a mystery for our viewers. They can ponder that for the next 7 days, can't they?
We've got really such little to do.
Yes. Well, to be fair, I mean, it is a possibility that I could be wearing the same clothes next week simply because I've got nothing better to do than wash the same clothes every day at the moment. So.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be wearing something rainbow short sleeve or a dress.
But we're planning it already.
Oh, right. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Right. Well, thank you very, very much, Zoe and Nick. And we will see you again next week. Thank you very much for tuning in. And thank you for listening, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.